Hey everyone, my name is Ram and welcome to another exciting session with Sprint Master. Today I am going to talk about my personal experience with Google Onsite Interview. So why late? Let's get into it. Before I talk about my Google Onsite Interview experience, I want you to do me a quick favor by clicking the like button below so that you can help this video reach more people just like you. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel Sprint Master to get updates of our new videos. I know that since an year or so, none of the big tech companies are conducting any on-site interviews, and instead they are going for the virtual interviews. My story was back in 2019 before the corona came into the picture, so if you have been to these interviews in the recent year, your experience might be different from mine. Anyways, I attended my Google Onsite interview for an SD position with Google Cloud team in Sunnyvale, California. This happened around June-July timeframe of 2019. Though I didn't get the job I wished for, but I definitely had a pleasant experience throughout my interview process with Google. If I have to talk about my Google interview experience, I have to start with the recruiters. I had been to many interviews before and I talked with many recruiters, but out of all of them, Google recruiters stand out as one of the best recruiters, if not the best recruiter. They are really friendly and helpful throughout the interview process. To give you an example, the day I had the phone screen interview, I wasn't in a good shape and obviously I failed my phone screen interview. I felt really bad that I lost that opportunity. But the next day when the recruiter called me to inform me that they are not going to proceed with my application, I told my recruiter that I wasn't in a good shape on my phone screen and I wish I had another chance. She immediately offered me if I am willing to take another phone screen interview. Glad I took that and I was able to make it to the on-site interview with the second phone screen. Along with that, there are some other small things like wishing me good luck before the interview and inquiring how the interview went after the interview process was done. These are very small things but definitely impactful on the candidates. So good job Google, continue doing that. After my second phone screen interview, the recruiter called me and told that they are pleased with my phone screen results, so they are willing to take me to the on-site interview. She asked me for a few dates to provide availability on my on-site interview and I provided with some, and she was able to schedule one of the dates as my on-site interview day. And then she connected me to the Google travel team so that I can make reservations for my upcoming travel. The travel team is also very flexible and they inquired about my preferences and they finally prepared an itinerary with all the flights scheduled and the hotel bookings are done and the rental car is booked. Everything is paid for. I flew from Detroit to Sunnyvale, California night before my on-site interview and I picked up my rental car and drove to the hotel. When I entered the hotel room, I was surprised to see a bag from Google, which has got a welcome note welcoming me and also wishing me good luck for the interview the next day. And it has also got some goodies like a water bottle, some Google stickers, and some snacks. It was a really pleasant experience for me. The next day, I drove from my hotel to the Google campus and they already provided me the directions on how to reach the campus and instructions on what to do after reaching the campus, like where should I park the car or which building should I go for and who should I ask for. So that process went on pretty smoothly. When I went to the visitor's desk and told my name and my recruiter name, they generated a temporary badge for me and asked me to wait in the lobby. There were a few other candidates just like me waiting for their interviews along with me in the lobby. After a few minutes, my recruiter came out and she welcomed me and she offered me with some water, coffee and snacks and then she took me inside the building. While she was taking me to the conference room, she asked if I am nervous and she tried to comfort me and she was talking about her career with Google. And finally, we reached this conference room where the rest of the day of mine will be there for the interview process. Inside this conference room, there was a big dry erase board with a bunch of markers and some water bottles spread across the table. I grabbed one of the water bottles and we sat and she was inquiring about how was my travel from Detroit to Sunnyvale, and while we were talking, my first interviewer showed up. So she wished me a good luck and she said she will meet me in the evening again and she left for the day. My first interview didn't go well as I planned. So the question was based on arrays and it started simple and later on the scope of the problem expanded a little further. So when the question was asked initially, I was able to come up with a solution for it. And then later on, the scope of the problem got expanded a little further and I was able to come up with the optimal solution for the second scenario as well. And then the interviewer asked me by expanding the scope of the problem a little further. That's when the struggle started for me. I was able to come up with a brute force technique for that third scenario he asked me, but I wasn't able to come up with the optimal solution for that scenario. The interviewer tried to give me some hints, but unfortunately I wasn't able to catch them and I couldn't come up with the optimal solution. At We are almost close to the 45 minutes time frame, so he was okay with my brute force technique, and finally he took the picture of my code. And meanwhile the second interviewer came in, and so the first interview was over at that point. By the way, if you are wondering what is the pattern of these interviews, I had previously made some videos on that, and I will drop those video links in the description below, so make sure you check them after this video. Also, if you want to get notified of our new videos, please subscribe to our channel Sprintmaster. My second interview went really good. At least that's what I felt. My interviewer asked me a question based on the graphs, and I was able to come up with a solution for that. And he started asking me what if questions, like what if that happens, what if this happens. And I was able to modify my solution to completely satisfy all of his scenarios he was mentioning. And finally, we both agreed on one solution, and I started writing the code for it. And he seemed really happy with the code, and he finally took the picture of the code. And that's where my second interview ended. And then comes the lunchtime. So my Google interview was total a 5-round interview, and 2 rounds were before the lunch and 3 rounds were after the lunch. And for this lunchtime, you are assigned with a lunch buddy. So this lunch buddy is not an interviewer, and you can be comfortable with him. You can ask any kind of questions, like how is it working for the Google, or how is the living around this area, etc. My lunch buddy took me to the lunch, and on the way he asked me what kind of a food I prefer. And I said whatever is the quickest possible, because I have an interview coming up in the next 45 minutes. So he first took me to the Indian cafeteria. Oh, by the way, Google has got a free food perk if you work for Google. So, and apparently they have like a different types of food they offer. So when we went to this Indian cafeteria, the place was so full, and so we had to move on to the next one. There are some salads and pizzas in the next one, and we went for it. And I should say, the food was decent. I asked my lunch buddy about how it is working for Google, and how is the transportation around the area, and how is the housing there, to get an idea of like how my life will be if I had to work for Google there. We quickly wrapped up our lunch, and he again took me to the same place where he picked me up. And by the time we reached there, our next interviewer was ready for me, and we are already late by 5 minutes. So we started the questions right away. The interviewer asked me a question based on dynamic programming, and it was definitely something, because I don't know if I was confused or he confused me, because when he initially asked the question, I came up with an approach and I proposed that solution. He seemed not happy with that solution, so I was thinking if there is any better approach, and I kept on thinking, and there were some back and forth conversations, and he was giving me some hints to come to a solution. And when I understood those hints, it kind of felt to my initial proposal. So I again said my initial proposal, and he seemed happy with that. So I was a little confused. Like initially also I said the same thing, but he seemed unhappy at that time, but he was happy at a later point of time. So by this back and forth conversations, the time was almost over. So I didn't have enough time to write the code. So I quickly tried to write the code on the board, and I didn't even check like what I have written. He took the picture because the next interview was already ready for me, so he just took the picture and he left the room. The next interviewer came in, and she asked me a question based on implementing specific functions of a known data structures. Heads up guys, interview questions doesn't have to be always about solving some kind of a problem. It can be like implement has next and next methods of the iterator class, Java class, or implement the append function of the string buffer. Usually these questions have got some special type of conditions they ask for, so you have to write the implementation of those particular methods by satisfying these special conditions. I definitely got stumbled upon this question, and I don't know why, but I was definitely confused while implementing the solution, and I couldn't completely solve for the problem. With that round, all of my technical interviews were done, and finally I was relieved. The next round was based on the behavioral questions. So it was more like what would you do if you are in such a situation, or what would you do if you are so and so position. These questions doesn't have any right or wrong answer. It is based on like your experience, and how would you deal with such a situations kind of things. So I tried to answer these questions with the best of my ability, and that's the wrap of my Google Onsite interview. And then my recruiter came in after the long day, and she inquired me how the interview went on for me, and she escorted me to the visitors lobby. and then I left the Google campus. So for the remainder of the day, I went to the Golden Gate Bridge and had some fun that evening, and finally went to the SFO airport and flew back to Detroit. Couple of days later, my recruiter reached out to me and informed me that they are not proceeding with my application any further. So I was initially disappointed, but it is what it is. Even though I didn't get a job, my overall experience with Google was really a pleasant one, so which put me on a positive note. Companies like Google, Amazon, they really have a high bar, and if you have a bad day on your on-site day, that will ruin your opportunities. But it is not the end of the world even if you don't get this job, right? So you just have to keep moving on and explore new opportunities and land wherever you are happy and never stop learning. I hope you like this video, and if you do, please click the like button below and share this video with your friends. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel Sprint Master to get updates of our new videos. If you have any interview experiences that you want to share with me, I would love to hear them. So mention them in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching this video. This is Ram signing off.